Marriage is like drywall. You never notice the cracks until something starts leaking through them. And brother, was my marriage about to spring the mother of all leaks? My name is Tom Baker, and I'm 38 years old, with a job managing construction projects and a wife who'd been working late more nights than a presidential campaign manager. Erin had landed this new HR position 6 months ago, and suddenly every day brought emergency meetings and urgent deadlines that kept her at the office until 9, 10, sometimes 11 at night. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Stuck in traffic, going to be hours late, her text read that Thursday evening. I was sitting in our living room in suburban Minneapolis, beer in hand, watching the Twins lose another game they should have won. No problem. Drive safe, I replied, because that's what good husbands do. We trust, we support. We don't ask too many questions when our wives start wearing perfume to work and buying new underwear they never seem to wear at home. But here's the thing about being married to someone for 8 years. You develop instincts, and my instincts were screaming louder than a smoke detector with a dying battery. I opened our shared car tracking app. We'd installed it 2 years ago after Erin's Honda got stolen from a mall parking lot. Insurance company loved it, gave us a discount and everything. What they probably didn't mention in their brochures was how useful it would be for catching lying spouses. The little blue dot showing Erin's location wasn't stuck in traffic on Highway 35. It was parked in the driveway of a house in Edina, one of those upscale neighborhoods where the lawns look like golf courses and the mailboxes cost more than my monthly truck payment. I stared at that dot for a full minute, watching it not move, not even a little. Traffic, my ass. Pete, I said into my phone, calling my best friend who'd spent 15 years as a cop before switching to private security. You busy? Just watching my ex-wife's lawyer explain why I owe more alimony than a lottery winner. What's up? I think Erin's having an affair. Silence. Then, you sure? She's supposed to be stuck in traffic. Her car's been parked at some rich guy's house in Edina for over an hour. Address? I read it off the GPS app. That's Neil Haywood's place, Pete said immediately. Regional director at Pinnacle Insurance, your wife's company, right? My stomach dropped into my boots. How do you know that? Did a security consultation for his neighbor last month? Guy's got a reputation. Married, 2 kids, and a wandering eye that's apparently found your wife. I sat there processing this information like a computer with a virus. My wife of 8 years was parked in her boss's driveway, probably doing things I didn't want to think about while texting me about traffic delays. Tom, you still there? Yeah, what do I do? First, don't do anything stupid. Second, we need proof. Third, we make sure when this goes down, you come out looking like the victim instead of the psycho husband. I drove to Edina. Took me 23 minutes, which was about 22 minutes longer than I wanted to spend thinking about what I might find. Neil Haywood's house looked like something from a magazine, all glass and stone and architectural angles that screamed, I make more money than you'll ever see. Erin's Honda was in the driveway, right next to a silver BMW that probably cost more than my annual salary. I parked across the street and walked up like I belonged there. The front windows were huge, and whoever designed this place apparently never heard of curtains. Through the glass, I could see into the living room clear as day. There was my wife, sitting on a leather couch that probably cost more than my truck, laughing at something Neil Haywood was saying. He was exactly what you'd expect, tall, silver-haired, wearing a button-down shirt that fit him like it was tailored by angels. They had wine glasses, soft music, and body language that told a story I didn't want to read. Then he kissed her. Not a friendly peck, not a congratulatory smooch for a job well done. A full contact, hands in her hair, I've been thinking about this all day kind of kiss. I took out my phone and started recording. They broke apart, and Erin said something that made him laugh. She looked relaxed, happy, more animated than I'd seen her in months. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment mistake or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was comfortable, familiar. This had been going on for a while. I recorded for about 3 minutes, getting clear shots of both their faces, before walking back to my truck. My hands were shaking, but not from anger. From something colder. More calculating. By the time I got home, I'd made a decision. If Erin wanted to play games, I'd show her what happened when she played against someone who actually knew the rules. I opened my laptop and pulled up Erin's contact list. She had this group chat with her work friends, Gina, Marcy, and 2 other women who got together for wine nights and gossip sessions. They called themselves the Work Wives, which I'd always thought was cute. I attached the video to a message and typed, "Now you can all see how much my wife loves her work, and her boss." Send. Erin's phone, sitting on the kitchen counter where she'd forgotten it, immediately started buzzing like an angry wasp. Text after text, call after call. The Work Wives were about to have the gossip session of their lives. I grabbed another beer and settled in to wait. Traffic was about to get a whole lot worse for Mrs. Baker. Erin came home at 11:47 p.m., a full 4 hours after her stuck-in-traffic text. She walked through the door looking like someone who'd spent the evening doing exactly what she'd been doing, having an affair with her boss. Her hair was slightly messed up, her lipstick was gone, and she had that satisfied, lazy look people get after good sex. What she didn't have was her phone, which meant she had no idea that her entire social circle now knew about her extracurricular activities. "Hey, babe," she said, kissing my cheek with lips that had been on Neil Haywood an hour earlier. "Sorry about the traffic. Absolute nightmare out there." "No worries," I replied, not looking up from my laptop. "How was work?" "Oh, same old stuff. Budget meetings, personnel reviews, boring." I nodded sympathetically. "Sounds rough. You must be exhausted." She yawned on cue. "I am. I'm going to grab a shower and head to bed." "Your phone's been going crazy," I said casually. "Must be 20 texts in the last hour." Erin froze halfway to the stairs. "My phone?" "Kitchen counter. The girls must be planning something big for this weekend." She practically sprinted to the kitchen. I heard her phone unlock, then silence. Complete, dead silence that stretched for about 30 seconds before she whispered, "Oh, shit." "Everything okay?" I called out. No answer. I could hear her frantically typing, probably trying to do damage control on a situation that was already way past containment. She came back into the living room holding her phone like it might explode. Her face had gone from post-coital glow to panic attack pale in record time. "Tom, I can explain..." "Explain what?" I looked up with my best confused husband expression. "Is something wrong?" She stared at me, trying to figure out how much I knew. I could practically see the gears turning in her head, calculating lies and half-truths and plausible denials. "The girls, they're just being dramatic about something they heard at work." "Drama? That doesn't sound like Gina and Marcy. They're usually pretty level-headed." Erin's phone buzzed again. She looked at it and went even paler, which I hadn't thought was possible. "I should call them back," she said. "Clear up some misunderstanding." "At midnight? They'll be asleep." Another buzz. This time, she actually flinched. "Maybe I'll just text them back real quick." I watched her type frantically for about 5 minutes, her expression getting more desperate with each message. Finally, she gave up and looked at me with something that might have been the beginning of honesty. "Tom, we need to talk." "About what?" About what you might have heard or seen." I closed my laptop and gave her my full attention. "I haven't heard anything. What's going on, Erin?" She sat down across from me, phone clutched in her hands like a lifeline. "If someone told you something about me and Neil? Neil? Your boss, Neil?" "Yes." If someone said something, you have to understand that it's not what it looks like. I leaned forward, playing the concerned husband perfectly. What's not what it looks like? Erin, you're scaring me. Her phone rang. Gina's name flashed on the screen. Erin declined the call immediately. There might be some rumors going around, she said carefully, about me and Neil spending time together outside of work. What kind of time? Just professional time. Dinners, meetings. You know how it is with new jobs. You have to put in extra effort to prove yourself. I nodded like this made perfect sense. Of course. So what's the problem? People might be misinterpreting our professional relationship, making it seem like something it's not. Like what? She couldn't say it, couldn't actually form the words affair or cheating or I've been screwing my boss for months while lying to you about traffic jams. Her phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at it and I saw her face crumble. What did it say? I asked. Marcy wants to know if the video is real. What video? Erin looked at me like I'd just asked her to explain quantum physics. You really don't know? Know what? Erin, you're not making any sense. She showed me her phone. The group chat was blowing up with messages. Gina, OMG Erin, is this for real? Marcy, I can't believe you didn't tell us. Sarah, how long has this been going on? Jen, that's definitely Neil's house. I've been there for company parties. Gina, you need to call me right now. Marcy, does Tom know? And at the top of the conversation, sent from my phone number, was the video I'd taken outside Neil's house. Someone sent this from your phone, Erin said quietly. I took her phone and watched the video like I was seeing it for the first time. There she was, clear as day, in Neil Haywood's living room, kissing her boss like her life depended on it. Huh, I said, that's definitely you. Tom, and that's definitely not our living room. I can explain. Is that Neil? She nodded miserably. So you weren't stuck in traffic tonight? No. You were at Neil's house? Yes. Doing what, exactly? She couldn't answer. Just sat there holding her phone while her entire social circle dissected her affair in real time. How long? I asked. What? How long have you been sleeping with him? The question hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. Erin opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It didn't, we never meant for it to happen. How long, Erin? 3 months. 3 months. A quarter of a year, 90 days of lies, fake traffic jams, and emergency meetings that were actually emergency orgasms. I see, I said, and handed her phone back. That's it? That's all you're going to say? I shrugged. What do you want me to say? You've been having an affair with your boss for 3 months, lying to me about it, and now all your friends know. Seems pretty straightforward. Aren't you angry? Should I be? She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Yes, you should be furious. You should be yelling at me. Would that help? It would be normal. I stood up and stretched. I'm going to bed. You should probably call your friends back. They seem worried about you. As I walked upstairs, I could hear her phone ringing again. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting at Pinnacle Insurance. I woke up the next morning to find Erin's side of the bed empty. She was in the kitchen, fully dressed for work, clutching a cup of coffee like it was the last life preserver on the Titanic. Morning, I said cheerfully. Sleep well? She looked like she'd been hit by a truck, backed over by the same truck, then run over again by the truck's bigger brother. Dark circles under her eyes, pale skin, the kind of exhaustion that comes from lying awake all night wondering how badly you've screwed up your life. I called in sick, she said. Smart move. Probably not the best day to face Neil and the gang. She flinched at his name. Tom, we really need to talk about this. About what? You've been pretty clear. You're having an affair. It's been going on for 3 months and now everyone knows. What else is there to discuss? What are you going to do? I poured myself coffee and considered the question. Well, I was thinking about pancakes for breakfast. Maybe bacon. What do you think? I'm being serious. So am I. I'm starving. Erin slammed her mug down on the counter. Would you please stop acting like this is normal? I cheated on you. I've been lying to you for months. Why aren't you reacting? How would you like me to react? Like a human being. Be angry. Yell at me. Throw something. I sat down at the kitchen table and looked at my wife. Really looked at her. 8 years of marriage, and I was seeing her clearly for the first time. The entitlement in her voice. The way she was more upset about my reaction than about what she'd done. The complete lack of genuine remorse. You want me to be angry so you can feel better about yourself, I said. If I yell and scream and act crazy, then you get to be the victim. Poor Erin, stuck with an unstable husband who can't control his temper. That would make the affair easier to justify, wouldn't it? She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. The thing is, Erin, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed, sure. Hurt? Absolutely. But angry? No. Anger is what you feel when someone you respect lets you down. What I'm feeling is more like clarity. Clarity about what? About who you really are. My phone rang. Pete's name on the caller ID. Morning, Pete. You see the news yet? What news? Check Channel 5's website. Your boy Neil made the morning gossip segment. I put Pete on speaker and pulled up the website on my phone. There it was in the local buzz section. Insurance executive's affair caught on camera. The story was light on details, but heavy on speculation. Someone had leaked the video to a local blogger who specialized in Twin Cities business gossip. They'd blurred out Erin's face, but left Neil's clearly visible, along with his name, job title, and company. Holy shit, Erin whispered. Gets better, Pete continued. I've got a buddy who works security at Pinnacle Insurance. Says Neil's wife showed up at the office an hour ago with a lawyer and a photographer. Cleaned out his office while he was in an emergency meeting with HR. Erin sank into a chair like her strings had been cut. His wife knows, she asked. Honey, everyone knows. This thing's gone viral in the local business community. Your boyfriend's about as popular as a root canal right now. I could see the wheels turning in Erin's head, calculating how this affected her, not how it affected Neil, or his wife, or his kids. Just her. I need to call him, she said. Probably not the best idea, Pete said through the speaker. Word is his wife's got him on lockdown, took his phone, changed the locks, the whole 9 yards. You might want to lay low for a while. After I hung up, Erin sat in silence for about 10 minutes. Then she looked at me with something that might have been the beginning of understanding. You did this, she said quietly. Did what? You sent that video to my friends. You leaked it to the media. I sipped my coffee. That's a pretty serious accusation. It came from your phone. My phone was right here on the counter all evening. Anyone could have used it. But you're the only one who would have had that video. I shrugged. Maybe someone saw you at Neil's house and recorded it themselves. Maybe a neighbor or someone driving by. These days, everyone's got a camera. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You're not the same person I married. No, I agreed. I'm not. The person you married was naive enough to believe his wife when she said she was stuck in traffic. The person you married trusted you completely and never questioned where you were or who you were with. The person you married was a fool. So what are you now? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I'm someone who learns from his mistakes. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Mel. Saw the news about Neil Haywood. Isn't that Erin's boss? You okay? I texted back. Never better. Want to grab lunch later? Definitely. I'll bring popcorn. This is better than reality TV. Erin saw the exchange. Your sister knows too? Mel reads the business blogs. She's got a thing for local scandals. Great. So your whole family's going to know. Probably. Mel's not exactly known for keeping quiet about juicy gossip. Erin put her head in her hands. My life is over. Don't be so dramatic. It's just a little embarrassment. You'll get through it. A little embarrassment? Tom, everyone knows I was having an affair with my married boss. My career is finished. My reputation is destroyed. Should have thought about that before you started screwing Neil. The words came out colder than I'd intended, but I didn't take them back. Erin looked up at me with tears in her eyes, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. What happens now? She asked. Now? Now you get to live with the consequences of your choices, just like the rest of us. I finished my coffee and headed for the door. I'm going to work. Try not to burn the house down while I'm gone. As I drove to my job site, I couldn't help but smile. The old Tom would have been crying into his beer, wondering what he'd done wrong, begging his cheating wife to come back. The new Tom had other plans. Pete was right about one thing. This was just the beginning. By the time I got home from work, Erin had received 17 phone calls, 43 text messages, and one hand-delivered letter from Pinnacle Insurance's HR department. She was sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by tissues and empty coffee cups, looking like she'd aged 5 years in 8 hours. They fired me, she said, without looking up. That was fast. Effective immediately. They're calling it termination due to violation of company conduct policies. I have to return my laptop, my company phone, and my parking pass by Monday. I loosened my tie and grabbed a beer from the fridge. What about Neil? Same thing, plus his wife filed for divorce and took the kids to her mother's house in Chicago. Rough day all around. She finally looked at me, and I could see something new in her expression. Not just embarrassment or regret, but genuine fear. Tom, I need this job. We need my income. The mortgage, the car payments, your student loans. We'll figure it out. How? You know how hard it is to find work when you've been fired for sleeping with your boss? Every HR department in the Twin Cities is going to know about this by Monday. I sat down across from her and opened my beer. Maybe you should have considered that before you started your extracurricular activities. Don't you care that we might lose the house? We won't lose the house. How can you be so sure? Because I got a promotion today. Erin blinked. What? Senior project manager to regional supervisor. 30% raise, company truck, full benefits. Turns out catching that safety violation at the Bloomington site made me look pretty good to the higher-ups. When did this happen? About an hour ago. My boss called me into his office and offered me Jim Patterson's old job. Jim's retiring early, and they needed someone reliable to take over his accounts. For the first time since this whole mess started, Erin looked hopeful. So we'll be okay financially? We will be fine. You, on the other hand, might want to start updating your resume. The hope died in her eyes. What do you mean? I mean I can handle the mortgage and expenses on my new salary. What you do for work is your problem to solve. But we're married. We're supposed to be a team. I took a long pull from my beer and considered that statement. Teams don't lie to each other about where they're spending their evenings. Teams don't cheat on each other with their bosses. Teams don't humiliate each other in front of their friends and colleagues. So what are you saying? I'm saying you made your choices and now you get to live with them, without my help. Erin's phone rang. She glanced at it and declined the call immediately. Who was that? Gina. Still not talking to the work wives? They're not exactly being supportive right now. What a shock. It's almost like people don't appreciate being lied to. The phone rang again. This time it was her mother. You should probably answer that, I said. I'm sure she's seen the news by now. Erin reluctantly picked up the call. Hi, Mom. Even from across the table I could hear the shouting. Erin held the phone away from her ear and winced as her mother's voice echoed through the kitchen. Embarrassment to the family. How could you be so stupid? What will people at church think? Your poor husband. Mom, please. Erin tried to interrupt, but her mother was just getting warmed up. Sleeping with your boss like some kind of, everyone's talking about it. I raised you better than this. Finally, Erin hung up. That went well, I observed. She's not speaking to me until I fix this mess and apologize to everyone I've hurt. Sounds reasonable. Reasonable? Tom, my own mother just disowned me. Temporarily disowned you. There's a difference. Erin put her head in her hands again. Why are you being so calm about this? Why aren't you more upset? I considered the question seriously. You want to know the truth? Yes. I'm relieved. Relieved? For months I've been wondering what was wrong with me. Why you didn't want to spend time together anymore. Why you were always tired, always stressed, always somewhere else. I thought maybe I was boring, or unattractive, or just not good enough for you anymore. Erin looked up at me with something that might have been guilt. Finding out about Neil answered all those questions. It wasn't about me at all. It was about you making selfish choices and lying to cover them up. That's actually much easier to deal with than thinking I was somehow failing as a husband. You weren't failing. No, I wasn't, and now I know that for sure. My phone buzzed with a text from Pete. You free tomorrow night? Got something that might interest you. I texted back. What kind of something? The kind that involves your wife's boyfriend and a very public humiliation. Bring a camera. I smiled and put my phone away. Who was that? Erin asked. Pete. He wants to grab dinner tomorrow night. What did he want? Just checking in. He's a good friend. Erin nodded absently, then looked at me with sudden suspicion. Tom, you didn't have anything to do with that video getting leaked to the media, did you? Why would you think that? Because you're taking this whole thing way too well. Most husbands would be losing their minds right now. Most husbands probably would be, but I'm not most husbands. What's that supposed to mean? I finished my beer and stood up. It means I'm full of surprises. You're about to learn that the hard way. As I headed upstairs, I could feel her watching me, trying to figure out what I was planning. The truth was, I wasn't entirely sure myself. But Pete's text had given me some ideas, and none of them were going to be pleasant for Neil Haywood, or for the wife who'd thrown away 8 years of marriage for 3 months of excitement with her boss. The old Tom would have been devastated. The new Tom was just getting started. Saturday morning brought the kind of October weather that makes you remember why you live in Minnesota, despite the winters. Crisp air, blue skies, and the smell of burning leaves drifting through the neighborhood. Perfect weather for destroying your cheating wife's remaining dignity. Pete picked me up at 9 sharp, driving his black pickup truck with the tinted windows and the North Star security decals on the sides. He handed me a coffee and a manila folder as I climbed into the passenger seat. What's this? Background on your boy Neil. Credit report, employment history, divorce filings, the works. My buddy in private investigation owed me a favor. I flipped through the folder while Pete drove toward downtown Minneapolis. Neil Haywood's life looked perfect on paper. 6-figure salary, big house in Edina, country club membership, 2 kids in private school. But there were cracks if you knew where to look. 3 maxed-out credit cards, Pete pointed out. Second mortgage on the house. Kids' tuition payments are 2 months behind. Guy's been living way beyond his means for years. Interesting. What else? This isn't his first affair. Got a written warning from HR 2 years ago for inappropriate conduct with a subordinate. Company swept it under the rug because he was bringing in big accounts, but they documented everything. So Erin wasn't special, just the latest in a pattern. Looks that way. And here's the best part. His wife's divorce lawyer is Sarah Chen from Morrison, Chen and Associates. She specializes in taking cheating husbands to the cleaners. Your boy Neil's about to learn what community property really means. We pulled into the parking lot of a strip mall in Bloomington. Pete parked next to a sports bar called Murphy's Tap, the kind of place that served burgers at lunch and regret at dinner. Why are we here? Pete grinned. Because Neil Haywood is in there. drowning his sorrows and telling anyone who'll listen how his life got ruined by a crazy husband who couldn't handle his wife having a work friendship. Through the window, I could see Neil sitting at the bar, gesturing emphatically at the bartender. Even from outside, he looked like a man who'd been hit by a freight train. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive shirt was wrinkled, and he had the kind of 5 o'clock shadow that said he'd given up on personal grooming. How do you know he's here? Followed him from his hotel. Guy's been staying at the Extended Stay America on 494 since his wife kicked him out. Real step down from the mansion in Edina. What's the plan? Pete handed me a small digital recorder. Go in there, order a beer, sit close enough to hear what he's saying, let him dig his own grave. And then? Then we make sure everyone knows what kind of man your wife threw away her marriage for. I walked into Murphy's Tap and took a seat 3 stools down from Neil. The bartender, a woman in her 50s with tired eyes and quick hands, slid a Budweiser across the bar without being asked. Neil was already drunk. Not falling down drunk, but loose-tongued, poor judgment drunk. The kind of drunk that makes people say things they'll regret when they sober up. Whole thing's blown out of proportion, he was telling the bartender. So I had dinner with a colleague a few times. Big deal. Her husband's some blue-collar construction guy who can't handle his wife working with successful people. The bartender nodded politely and continued wiping down glasses. You know what the real problem is? Neil continued. Jealousy. Pure and simple. Guy sees his wife talking to someone who makes real money, drives a nice car, lives in a decent neighborhood, and he loses his mind. I started the recorder and took a sip of my beer. I mean, what did he expect? Erin's smart, ambitious, beautiful. She was wasted on someone like that. Working construction, living in some suburban tract house, no vision for the future. Uh-huh, the bartender said, clearly wishing she was anywhere else. The funny thing is, she came to me. I wasn't chasing her around the office or anything. She started staying late, asking for advice, talking about how unhappy she was at home. What was I supposed to do, ignore her? Neil took a long pull from his whiskey and continued his pity party. And now everyone's acting like I'm some kind of predator, like I forced her into anything. She's a grown woman who made her own choices. If her marriage was so great, she wouldn't have been looking for something better. That was enough. I turned on my stool to face him directly. Excuse me, I said politely. I couldn't help overhearing. You're talking about Erin Baker, right? Neil's face went pale. He recognized me immediately, probably from Facebook photos or company events. You're Tom Baker, Erin's husband, the blue-collar construction guy with no vision for the future. The bar went dead quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to pause between songs. Look, Tom, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. I heard every word. My wife came to you because she was unhappy at home, and you were just trying to help her work through her marital problems. Very noble of you. Neil looked around the bar like he was hoping for backup, but the other customers were all staring at us with the kind of fascination people usually reserve for car accidents. It wasn't like that. What was it like, Neil? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're blaming my wife for seducing you, while simultaneously taking credit for being the successful, sophisticated man she couldn't resist. Which is it? I think I should go. Don't leave on my account. You were just explaining how Erin threw away 8 years of marriage because she was so impressed by your BMW and your house in Edina. The house your wife kicked you out of, right? Neil stood up and threw a 20 on the bar. This conversation is over. Actually, it's just getting started. I pulled out my phone and showed him the recording app. See, the thing about us blue-collar guys is we're not as stupid as you think. We know how to use technology, too. You recorded me? Every word. Want to hear your thoughts on how my wife was wasted on someone like me? Neil's face went from pale to red. You can't use that. It's illegal to record someone without their consent. Actually, Minnesota's a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows about the recording, it's perfectly legal. I learned that from my friend Pete, who used to be a cop. What do you want? I stood up and moved closer to him. Not threatening, just close enough that he had to look me in the eye. I want you to understand something, Neil. You didn't steal my wife. She gave herself away, but that doesn't mean you get to walk away from this without consequences. What kind of consequences? I smiled, and it was the same cold smile I'd given Erin a few days earlier. The kind that come from messing with someone who has nothing left to lose and a lot of time to get creative. Neil pushed past me and headed for the door. I let him go, but called out as he reached the exit. Say hi to the folks at the Extended Stay America for me. I hear the continental breakfast is almost as good as what you used to get at home. After he left, the bartender looked at me with something between sympathy and admiration. Drinks on the house, she said. That guy's been coming in here for 3 days, bad-mouthing you to anyone who'd listen. About time someone set him straight. I finished my beer and left a generous tip. Outside, Pete was waiting with a grin that could have lit up the Twin Cities. Get what we needed? More than we needed. This guy's about to learn what happens when you underestimate the blue-collar construction worker with no vision for the future. What's next? Now we make sure everyone gets to hear Neil's real thoughts about the woman he destroyed his marriage for. As we drove home, I thought about Erin, probably sitting in our kitchen, wondering what I was planning. She was about to find out that her husband wasn't the pushover she'd thought he was, and neither was the life she'd thrown away for 3 months of excitement with a man who saw her as just another conquest. Sunday evening brought the reckoning Erin had been dreading since Friday morning. I'd spent the weekend being mysteriously absent, claiming I needed time to think while actually orchestrating the final phase of my wife's public humiliation. She was waiting for me in the living room when I got home, looking like a defendant about to hear her verdict. We need to talk, she said. About what? About us. About what happens next. I sat down across from her, the same spot where this whole conversation had started 3 days earlier. What do you think should happen next? I think we should try to work this out. Go to counseling, maybe. I made a mistake, but that doesn't mean our marriage has to be over. A mistake. Yes, a terrible mistake that I regret completely. I pulled out my phone and opened the recording from Murphy's tap. Want to hear what your mistake thinks about you? Erin's face went white as Neil's voice filled the room, explaining to the bartender how she'd come to him because she was unhappy at home, how she was wasted on someone like me, how he'd just been trying to help her find something better. When it finished, Erin sat in stunned silence. He said that? Every word. Turns out your great love affair was just another conquest for Neil. You were the desperate housewife throwing herself at the successful executive who was too polite to say no. That's not how it happened. Isn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you traded 8 years of marriage for 3 months with a man who saw you as a convenient piece of ass. Erin flinched at the crude language, but I was past caring about her delicate sensibilities. Tom, please, I know I screwed up, but we can get past this. People work through affairs all the time. Some people do. But those people are usually dealing with spouses who feel genuine remorse, not ones who are only sorry they got caught. I am sorry. You're sorry you lost your job. You're sorry your friends know. You're sorry your mother's not speaking to you. But you're not sorry you cheated. You're just sorry it didn't work out the way you planned. My phone buzzed with a text from Pete. Package delivered? Check your email. I opened my laptop and pulled up my inbox. There it was, a video file with a note. Thought you might want to see this. Your boy Neil had a very public meltdown at the Edina Country Club this afternoon. Someone recorded it. I clicked play and turned the laptop so Erin could see the screen. The video showed Neil, clearly drunk, standing in what looked like the country club bar, shouting at a group of men in golf clothes. The audio was a little fuzzy, but his words were clear enough. All of you looking at me like I'm some kind of criminal. I had an affair, so what? Half the guys in this room have done the same thing. One of the men tried to calm him down, but Neil was beyond reason. You want to know the truth? She wasn't even that good. Desperate housewife throwing herself at me because her husband's a loser who can't satisfy her. The men around him looked embarrassed and uncomfortable. Someone was clearly trying to get him to leave quietly, but Neil was having none of it. You think I'm the bad guy here? Her husband's the one who recorded us, stalked us like some kind of psycho, posted it all over the internet to humiliate us. Neil, maybe you should, someone started to say. Should what? Should feel bad about giving some lonely housewife the attention her blue-collar husband couldn't? Should apologize for showing her what it's like to be with a real man? The video ended with security guards escorting Neil out of the club while he continued shouting about how he was the real victim in all this. Erin was crying. Not the manipulative tears she'd been using all weekend, but genuine, heartbroken sobs. He really said all that? About an hour ago. It's already been shared on 3 different social media groups. By tomorrow morning, everyone in your social circle will have seen it. But he said he loved me. He said a lot of things. Turns out most of them were lies. Erin put her head in her hands and cried harder. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. What do I do now? She whispered. Now you get to start over. New job, new friends, new life. Maybe even a new husband if you can find someone who doesn't mind being married to a woman who throws away her marriage for a man who calls her desperate and not that good. Tom, please. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for another chance. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. I closed the laptop and looked at my wife. Really looked at her. 3 days ago, she'd been confident, successful, living a double life and thinking she was clever enough to get away with it. Now she was broken, unemployed, friendless, and begging for forgiveness from the husband she'd betrayed. You want to make this right? Yes. Anything. Then sign the divorce papers. What? I pulled a manila envelope from my briefcase and slid it across the coffee table. Pete's lawyer friend drew them up yesterday. No-fault divorce, 50-50 split of assets, no alimony. Clean and simple. Erin stared at the envelope like it might bite her. You already filed for divorce? I'm going to. The question is whether you want to do this the easy way or the hard way. What's the hard way? The hard way is where I file for divorce citing adultery, submit all the evidence I've gathered, and let a judge decide how to split our assets. Given that you lost your job due to the affair and I just got promoted, that probably won't go well for you. And the easy way? The easy way is you sign these papers, we sell the house, split everything down the middle, and you get to start your new life without a messy court battle. Erin opened the envelope and flipped through the papers with shaking hands. This is really what you want? This is what you chose when you decided Neil Haywood was more important than your marriage. But what if I fight it? What if I contest the divorce? I smiled, and this time it wasn't cold or calculating. It was genuinely amused. With what money? You're unemployed and unemployable. Your reputation is destroyed, your friends have abandoned you, and your mother's not speaking to you. You think you can afford a lawyer good enough to beat the evidence I have? She looked at the papers again, then at me. You've really thought this through, haven't you? I've had a lot of time to think while you were stuck in traffic. Erin picked up a pen and stared at it for a long moment. Then she looked at me one last time. I really did love you, you know, at the beginning. I know, but love isn't enough when you don't respect the person you're supposed to love. She signed the papers. 2 months later, the house sold for more than we'd expected. Erin took her half of the proceeds and moved to Phoenix, where she'd found a job with a company that apparently didn't Google their applicants very thoroughly. Neil's divorce was finalized a month after ours. His wife got the house, the kids, and most of his assets. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Duluth and living in a 1-bedroom apartment. As for me, I bought a smaller house closer to work, got a dog, and started dating a woman who thinks honesty is more important than excitement. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled things, if I think I went too far, or if I should have tried harder to save my marriage. The answer is simple. Erin made her choice when she decided to lie to me about traffic jams. Everything that happened after that was just the natural consequence of that choice. Some people call it revenge. I call it justice.